All right, I gotta be honest. It feels good to talk about something other than Kirk Cousins for once. So the Falcons just pulled off a couple of sneaky financial moves, freeing up $20 million in cap space. And naturally, the big question is, does this set them up to make a splashy free agent signing? Here's what they did. Atlanta restructured the contracts of A.J. Terrell and Chris Lindstrom, each move freeing up $10 million. Now, if you're wondering what restructured means in simple terms, it's basically a financial trick teams use. They take a chunk of a player's base salary, drop it to the league minimum for the year, turn the rest into a signing bonus, and spread that money across the remaining years of the contract. That lowers the cap hit for 2025, but pushes some of that cost down the road. With this move, the Falcons now have a little over $10 million in cap space. But here's the thing. Teams don't actually have all that money to spend freely. They have to set aside some cash to sign their rookies from the upcoming draft. When you factor that in, their real effective cap space is closer to $8 million. So do I think Atlanta is gearing up for a massive signing? Probably not. These moves feel more like they're just making sure they have enough room to sign their draft class and still keep some emergency cash on hand. No team wants to be scraping by with just a dollar to spare under the salary cap. They need flexibility, whether it's for a late summer signing, an unexpected injury replacement, or even a trade before the season starts. And hey, any money they don't use, they can roll it over to next year. So if you're still holding out hope for the Falcons to land a big-name free agent, you might want to temper expectations. But if they do make a move, edge rusher and cornerback are the two biggest needs. Guys like Matthew Judon are still out there. But we'll see if Atlanta actually pulls the trigger. All right, so there are still a bunch of solid veteran defenders out there, guys like James Bradbury, Rasul Douglas, and Stephon Gilmore. Now let's be real, none of these dudes are walking into Atlanta and single-handedly flipping this defense overnight. But if I had to pick one name that makes the most sense for the Falcons, it's Zadarius Smith. Smith is still a high-level pass rusher, and his numbers over the past 4 seasons prove it. We're talking about a guy who's put up 12.5 sacks, 10 sacks, 5.5 sacks, and 9 sacks in different years. That's consistency. But what really stands out? Availability. The best ability in the NFL is availability, and this dude has been on the field. He hasn't missed a game due to injury in the past few seasons, only sitting out a couple of Week 18 matchups when his team had already locked up a playoff spot. Looking at Atlanta's front five, Smith would fit right into the rotation with Leonard Floyd and Arnold Ebiketie. Plus, Braylon Trice, who basically feels like a rookie this year after missing last season with a torn ACL, is back in the mix. That's already a solid 4-man edge group before you even get to the draft. And if the Falcons do decide to bring in a veteran like Smith, it could free them up to take a corner or safety in the first round instead of reaching for an edge rusher. Now, there are a few other free agents that could be on Atlanta's radar, but between you and me, I don't really expect them to make any major moves at this point. That being said, let's shift gears and take a look at some cornerbacks and defensive backs that might make sense for the Falcons. One name I've been keeping an eye on since January, Chargers corner. All right, one name I keep coming back to for Atlanta, Asante Samuel Jr. Now, yeah, he missed a good chunk of last season with a shoulder injury, but before that, 3 straight years to start his NFL career with at least 2 picks per season. Outside of his rookie year, he hasn't had major injury issues, so I'd absolutely take a shot on this guy. And honestly, it doesn't even feel like that big of a risk. The numbers speak for themselves. Sure, the shoulder thing is a little concerning. Maybe that's why he's still unsigned. Maybe he hasn't passed a physical yet. But if he's healthy, this would be a fantastic signing. The dude's got a crazy high ceiling, and he's familiar with zone-heavy schemes, which the Falcons ran a ton last year. and the Chargers even more so in 2024. Plus, let's be real, Samuel's a playmaker. He's the kind of a guy who can make highlight reel plays, sell some jerseys, put butts in seats, and get Falcons fans fired up. Adding him would give Atlanta some much-needed depth at a position where, let's be honest, you can never have too much depth. Now, if the Falcons want a corner who could step in and start right away, Mike Hilton is another interesting option. This guy has been a straight-up baller at the nickel spot, spent time with the Steelers and Bengals, making plays in the AFC North for years. He's had consistent success, and Atlanta could definitely use someone like him in the slot. Right now, the Falcons' cornerback room feels a little thin. Doesn't look like they're bringing back D. Alford, so they've got Clark Phillips at nickel. But here's the thing. Phillips mostly played outside at Utah. He's got the ball skills and the athleticism to handle the inside, but it's not his natural spot. So, if Atlanta wants to shore up the secondary, bringing in a guy like Samuel or Hilton would make a ton of sense. Let's see if they make a move. I wouldn't mind bringing in a veteran as an insurance policy, just in case Clark Phillips struggles in the slot. You always want a guy you can rely on, someone who's been holding it down inside for years. Now, if you had to pick one, would you rather the Falcons add a corner or an edge rusher? Before I give you my answer, think about it. What's the bigger priority? For me, it's got to be edge, no question. If this defense is going to turn things around, it has to start up front. The secondary had its moments last year. Jesse Bates and A.J. Terrell were studs, and Justin Simmons was solid. Maybe not quite the impact player some hoped for, but he wasn't a liability. Still, there were some soft spots in coverage. But here's the deal. If you can't pressure the quarterback, it doesn't matter who you have in the secondary. Those guys can't cover forever. Now let's look at the Falcons' top 4 pass rushers based on last year's sack totals. Leonard Floyd led the way with 8.5 sacks. Not bad, but not great. And honestly, they need way more than that. I'm not convinced Arnold Ebiketie is suddenly going to have the breakout season everyone's been waiting for. Morgan Fox, solid rotational guy with the Chargers, but not a game changer. And when Caden Ellis, one of your best pass rushers, isn't even a true edge rusher, that's a problem. I get it. Terry Fontenot didn't have a ton of great free agent options this year. Last offseason, guys like Danielle Hunter and Jonathan Greenard were out there, but this year, slim pickings, just bad timing for the Falcons. The good news? The draft is loaded with pass rushers. That's got to be the priority. But even with that, I wouldn't mind bringing in another veteran, maybe Zadarius Smith, because let's be honest, this team needs all the help it can get. Over the last 4 years, Atlanta ranks dead last in sacks. And the last time the Falcons had a player hit 10 sacks in a season, Saudi Arabia hadn't even let women drive yet. Yeah, it's been that long, so bring them all in. More pass rushers, more depth, more pressure. That's the only way this defense takes the next step.